Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry, I actually did not leave. You're probably thinking to yourself, what the fuck is this kid doing back? I thought he left. I'm just trying to get you and myself used to the fact that I will not be making videos 24/7. I'm only going to be making videos for films that I feel are standouts. And this film, Hereditary, is certainly one of them. A breath of fresh air for the horror genre and also just film. So here we go. Hereditary, the best film I've seen so far this year. I'm not going to give away the plot. I don't want to do a Tom Holland and let everything slip out by accident. So I'm just going to say that this film is about grief and the supernatural. Combine those two, you get Hereditary. Let's talk about this in a spoiler-free fashion. It's going to be hard, but we're going to try and get through this. It's the most emotionally upsetting film ever to be projected on screen in such a good way. This film attacked my senses. It didn't scare me. It didn't truly terrify me. I'm one of those people where it takes something that's non-fiction to scare me. For example, if there's a break-in scene in a movie, that will not scare me. If someone actually does break into my house, it's gonna terrify me. That's a natural thing to feel when someone breaks into your house. But this movie came pretty darn close. It had me looking in the corner of a dark room and thinking to myself, is there something there? And that is fantastic on Ari Aster's part, because this was crafted so well. Instead of ruining the tension with a stupid jump scare, he lets you sit with the character's reaction to what they're seeing, which is pretty terrifying. Pretty uncomfortable, you know, which is the intended feeling, uncomfortable. But he lets you sit with a character's reaction to what, you know, they're saying, instead of showing it to you. And it usually throws in a pretty disgusting, in a good way, sound effect, which makes it 10 times more uncomfortable. That's 50% fantastic on Aster's part and 50% on the actor's part. The performances have so many layers, and also the characters do. The characters have so many layers. The entire movie has just a bunch of substance, but I can't exactly talk about that fully without giving away any spoilers. But holy God, Toni Collette, her performance is the first performance, you know, this year that has sent chills down my spine. She was mind-boggling. I think that if she can get recognized for The Sixth Sense at the Academy, she can get recognized for this. I'm not saying she was bad in The Sixth Sense. I'm just saying this is a much more heavy performance. But, very unpopular opinion coming your way. The best part of this film, in my opinion, is Alex Wolff. Toni Collette said this in an interview. Toni Collette, basically, she would do the scene, which was usually, you know, very heavy, and kind of shake it off. She wouldn't dive deep into her character. She'd usually go on a treadmill or something to kind of maybe even take a shower, just to, you know, get that feeling out of her, you know? Alex Wolff apparently dived deep into the role. He also said he almost got PTSD. It's a bit of a big call, you know, obviously, but it's bigger and better than just shaking it off. There are a couple scenes where he just has to sit there in shock, not freaking out, just in shock. And it had me holding my breath. His facial expressions throughout this entire film, even the ending, which I won't spoil, holy God, his performance just so captivating. He went from a high school, you know, stoner, you know, your average high schooler pretty much, you know, smoking weed, to a child crying for his mummy, a man-child crying for his mummy, so fast and so well. And I do think that's where the layers, you know, element comes in. I do think his character and most of the characters in this movie have so many layers. Yeah, there are a couple scenes where Alex Wolff is absolutely terrifying and chilling, but there are other scenes where he's just, it's really sad because this guy never had a mother, a real one. That's the big thought in Hereditary, you know? That's your mother, you know, but it's not your mother. And just making you look around the room and going, is this all real? Like, you're just seeing everything differently. And I will even go as far as saying, this film might just transform you. Imagery will be burned into my mind forever. There are a couple images that will make me think satanic cult meetings are 10 times worse than I already thought they were. I never want to attend a satanic cult, but this movie made them look 10 times worse. Yeah, I'm trying to not give away any spoilers, it's hard. But also, Millie Shapiro and Gabrielle Byrne were amazing. And I also think this is a very, you know, dissectable film. You could easily, dissectable? Whatever. You could easily dissect this film. That it has so many layers that I think Ari Aster should be talked about in the same breath as Stanley Kubrick and Wes Craven. He's one of those directors, from what I can, see, who knows what he's doing and knows that the horror genre has not reached its full potential in modern times. Then there's the flaws. I do have a couple flaws with this movie. Ann Dowd, I thought she was laughable until the end, when her character was kind of, pulled into focus. I did like her at the end, but for the most part, she was a bit laughable. And that kind of leads me into my second flaw. There's a seance scene that involves her and a chalkboard that had you laughing. And Toni Collette was fantastic in the scene, and she was the best part about it, obviously, but she was also fantastic in every other scene, so it wasn't exactly a standout. The only reason why it was a standout is because you were laughing. And also, it does feel surprisingly small-scaled, but I think that's because the marketing, promised you a bigger film. Obviously, it wasn't marketing a huge, gigantic movie. It was just being marketed as a movie that was a bit bigger than it really was. So I don't really see that as a problem with the movie, more the marketing. So scrap that. But apart from that, this is the most emotionally upsetting film I've ever seen. It's weird because I saw it twice, and the first time I saw it, I was holding my breath, I was in a deep distress, I was sweating. The second time, it was a much more smoother watch, obviously, but I was getting chills. I wasn't holding my breath, I was getting chills. I did not get chills the first time. I got two separate feelings on the two separate screenings. I wonder what I'm going to get tonight when I see it for the third time. But no, this movie is the most emotionally upsetting film I've ever seen. It has fantastic acting. I hope it gets recognized at the Academy. It's definitely, if there's a better film this year, I'll go as far as saying we're in a new golden age, because it's so effective and it's a film that can be dissected. A horror movie with substance, and it's frightening. Oh my god, so disquieting. I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. I loved it. 9 out of 10. See Hereditary, as it may just transform you as a horror fan.